in the last few minutes, the US House of Representatives have started proceedings which could see the American president impeached for a second time. Republicans have joined the race by Democrats to remove Donald Trump from office after Mike Pence rejected a vote to oust the president. At least 4 Republican House members have said they will vote to impeach, including Liz Cheney, the third most senior Republican in the House of Representatives. Let's speak with Tom Coleman, former Missouri Republican congressman, and one of those Republicans calling for the impeachment. Tom Coleman, good afternoon to you, sir.
Well, thank you for having me, and I may need that sleep information myself.
Yeah, I think that the whole of America might need that. I mean, let's just take a moment to look at where we're at. Who would have thought, if you and I had spoken, Tom, 10 years ago, we know that politics is full of peaks and troughs and ups and downs. And, we saw what happened with Clinton. We know what happened with Nixon. And, there's always going to be interesting and not particularly attractive stories. But what we're seeing now is utterly extraordinary.
Well, it is. In fact, 10 years ago, I considered myself a Republican. And Donald Trump made sure that I left that party because he took the party away from many people who were traditional Republicans. Donald Trump has turned the party into a cult. And our challenge here, even if he's removed from office through this impeachment process, is how to restore some sort of sanity to a number of people who ended up voting for him this November.
Yeah. I mean, do you sense this impeachment process is about specifically things that have happened in the last few weeks? I'm talking about Capitol Hill, the riots, the comments he made, which may or may not have contributed towards people going in and penetrating, what should be one of the world's most secure buildings and mysteriously on that day wasn't, etc. Is it that, or there is a very real sense, Tom, that, this is more about making sure this guy goes away and doesn't come back in 2024?
It's both of them, Ian. I think the dam broke in the insurrection that actually Donald Trump, the president of the United States, fomented. And that was just a bridge too far for many people, including some Republicans who have now stood up and are announcing their support for impeachment in the House. And I think an earth-shattering statement was made yesterday by the majority leader, Mitch McConnell, in the Senate. At least it was leaked through his office, that he was all supportive of impeachment. If that happens, then that means that this is going to have legs in the Senate and that there's perhaps 20 Republicans who currently are in the Senate who would vote for impeachment. That's enough to side with all the Democrats to oust him, convict him from office.
So what? Just talk us through the process, Tom. I mean, impeachment is a process. If enough people vote for this to happen, what happens next? That isn't straight a case of saying goodbye, Mr. President.
Well, the first step here is in the House. Today, the House will impeach the president. Impeachment is a whole process under our Constitution. So then the articles of impeachment go to the Senate, where they will hold a so-called trial and present, hopefully, witnesses and facts. In this particular case, all the senators were in the chamber in the Capitol building when all this happened. So we have the video, we have their experiences. There's not going to have to be a long trial. It could all be over in a couple of hours.
Wow.
They will vote. And if they find enough information and facts that they support removing him from office, they will convict him. And then they will have another vote to actually remove him from office. And then the House, I think, also has to go back to get another vote if they're going to actually remove him.
What do you say, Tom, to people who do support Donald Trump? And I have this discussion almost every day on air. You have people in this country who talk about Mr. Trump almost as if he's their own father. Such is the sort of cult-like worship of this man. And I find that extraordinary when I hear Americans talk that way. When I hear Brits who aren't even discussing their own leader have, again, that same entrenched passion in a leader. It's extraordinary. We look at what happened here, and many of these people come back with this. They say that actually what guys like yourself don't like, even if you're Republicans, you don't like the fact that the establishment establishment was tinkered with. You know, you had Bush, you had Bush and Cheney, you had Clinton and Gore, and the list goes on. And they might be different parties, but all of these guys sang from a simultaneous kind of establishment hymn sheet. And Trump came along, he tore that up, he spoke for the small man. And that's what guys like yourself, Tom, don't much like, even if it is your own party. How do you, you'd have heard these arguments before, of course. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think there's a number of people that consider themselves Republicans who believe what you said, but I think the vast majority of people have just been totally misled. The president has been given the airways of our television and radio and all of our media for 4 years. He creates chaos so that they will cover him. And I've been, saying that that is wrong, that it's not really news. It's just his propaganda. He also has a Fox News in this country has the largest audience, and it's really an arm of the government as propaganda that we found in other authoritarian states. So once this fever is broken, once Trump is out of office, the media has no reason to cover him. He's going to be in terrible financial shape. He is toxic to the business world. He has no banks that will lend him money. I can see a lot of problems. He will be in litigation, some of it perhaps criminal as well as civil. So I really see this thing going away. It's not going to go away fast.
Sure.
But the era of Trump will be over, and it could be over within days here in the United States.
And Tom, just a final point, again, just to sort of clarify that how you respond to that other side of the argument. There are people say that, he was unconventional. He went off script. It wasn't always pretty, but he spoke for the small guy. The wages went up. More blacks and Hispanics found themselves in work than ever before. He stood up to China. He stood up to Iran. This was a man that did all of those things. The Middle East has never looked in better shape as a result of Donald Trump. How do you? I know there's a lot there, but how do you respond broadly to all of that?
Let's not leave out our allies, Ian. Let's don't leave out European allies and other allies all over the world that he basically rebuked. He's probably the most unpopular president we've had in 100 years, I guess, or ever, in Europe and in the capitals of the free world. He is totally unfit for this office.
But did he speak for the small guy? Did he
I don't
increase
think
people's
the small
wages?
guys. I don't think small guys want to see this country brought down into an authoritarian system with a dictatorship. Even small guys can recognize that their life's not going to change under such a regime. So, I think this whole commentary about the elites and everybody else is misplaced. We want people, and they will be in the Biden administration, people who have been tested, who are able to administer this government. We haven't had a president, basically. We've had somebody who is only interested in playing golf and being outrageous for the last 4 years.
But did he make a difference to the Middle East, Tom? Did he make a difference to China?
I doubt it. I don't see him actively being involved, or his son-in-law. Things happen sometimes on their own. He has destroyed so much. You talk about China. Our relationships with China are so much worse now than they were when he took office. And he's naive. He had no experience in foreign policy. And he thought he could go over there and just, snow these people with compliments. And they just took advantage of him, as did every other world leader.
Tom, it's great to have you on, sir. Thank you. Tom Coleman, former Missouri Republican congressman. He's one of those Republicans calling for Trump's impeachment. He didn't mix his words there.